Hey guys, it is Wingy here and welcome to another of my top threes. Now this time, as you can tell from the title and thumbnail, we are going to be talking about my top three personal best of the 9th Doctor. Now I'm slowly making my way through all of the Doctors, doing their best three and their worst three, and I thought with Eccleston, may as well just get him out of the way because this is probably going to be a very easy, straightforward list. I'm not going to do anything edgy and be like, oh well, Boomtown is obviously one of his best, because I mean I like it, but it's just not, is it? But before I talk about the three most obvious stories that I'm going to talk about for the 9th Doctor, what I also want to say is it is my aim this year to hit 10,000 subscribers. Now I'm very close to 8 at the time of recording this, so if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe and I would love you forever. And that is also what I tend to say at the end of a video, but we're not, we're carrying on. So here we go. Like I said, this is going to be a very straightforward list. It's probably not going to be my longest video. It's probably not going to be like the most outlandish video. So first and foremost, I have to go with Dalek. Thing is, Dalek as a story is actually quite unique because we see a side of both the Doctor and the Daleks that we haven't really seen before. And obviously this is inspired by a Big Finish audio, Jubilee, which is on my list. I will be reviewing that at some point. But the thing is, this for me really cements Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor. Like, he was great for the previous 5 episodes, don't get me wrong. But seeing this damaged, war-torn Doctor come across a Dalek after this brutal war with them is a really interesting insight into where the Doctor's actually at now. And the funny thing is, by the end of the story, the Doctor's the villain, in a way. Or at least he's wrong, and Rose helps him see the error of his ways. But I think this perfectly reintroduced the Daleks into Doctor Who, because you get to see a Dalek at its full power, and you get to see a Dalek in ways that I imagine people watching the classic series growing up really wanted to see. And that's not to say that Daleks didn't have some awesome moments in the classic series, because they absolutely do. But what I'm trying to say is, in this, because of like special effects and budget has gone up a little bit, you can do a little bit more with them. You can arguably say that they're a little bit overpowered, or the Dalek in this is a little bit overpowered, and that is something that will forever haunt the Daleks for the rest of the modern era. But you can't deny that this script is incredibly well written. Like, I don't have a fault with this story, and Christopher Eccleston is fantastic as the Doctor in this. It's arguably his finest performance in the role. Plus, love the little nod of in the museum, you've got the Cyberman head. That's pretty fucking awesome. Again, no surprises for what's next up on my list, which is of course The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. I've said this many a time on this channel, so I won't bore you with the details, but this is the story that made me a Doctor Who fan. It's a creepy as shit story. It is Stephen Moffat, arguably at his best, and you end up with a story that, again, is just pretty much flawless and perfect. The introduction of Captain Jack is something that I absolutely love. Like, he's one of my favourite characters in the Who-niverse, if that's what you want to call it. The fact that this is a story where everybody lives, I think is brilliant, because I don't think there's too many times where we've really seen that. And I think this Doctor especially needed an adventure like this. He needed a story for him personally to be like, just this once, everybody lives. And you can see the relief on his face. Having gone through the Time War and losing Gallifrey and then seeing a Dalek again recently, like, the Doctor really needed this. And the build up to it is creepy, it's atmospheric, the setting is perfect for what it's trying to do. There's a few twists and turns, there's some really horrific moments, like the bit where the Doctor, not our Doctor, but Dr. Constantine, where he changes into a gas mask zombie, that scared the shit out of me. This is the story that introduced me to a fear that I didn't know I had, which was children can actually be creepy as shit. The way that it's just relentless. This child just following everybody and just won't leave him alone, like stuff like the typewriter, the little monkey clapping, like all that sort of stuff. Spine chilling. I couldn't watch this story for 2 years after it broadcast because it creeped me out that much. And this is probably the only time where the cliche of hiding behind the sofa was actually accurate for me. I don't know for anyone watching this how many times a Doctor Who story, if ever, scared you the same way that this scared me, but it was one of them where I was petrified. I was really freaked out, and I didn't want to watch what was on screen, but I couldn't help but keep watching. I think regardless of what happened after, I think if anyone was going to take over from Russell, it had to be Moffat, based on this script alone. Yes, he did Girl in the Fireplace, which I'm not that massively keen on, and Blink, which is again a really innovative episode, and Silence in the Library, which is my favourite David Tennant story, but I think this solidified Moffat to at least be in with a shout of becoming showrunner. I think my favourite moment in this though is where they're stood in the room and you hear the tape recorder and then you hear like the tape has ended, but you still hear the talking, and then the Doctor realizes like, I've just sent it to its room. This is its room. Also, it's surprisingly funny. Like, having rewatched it recently, I forgot how witty the script for this actually is, which is another plus, because even though it's creepy and it's atmospheric and tense and scary and everything, there's still that traditional Doctor Who humour in there. And then again, do I need to say it's the finale, Bad Wolf parting of the ways? Now this is why I said before that Dalek was arguably Christopher Eccleston's finest performance as the Doctor, because it could also be this story. The Daleks probably peaked in series 1, let's be honest. In terms of the modern era, like, I don't think we've had another set of Dalek stories, or even one Dalek story, in my opinion, that has remotely come to this. Like, again, similar to in Dalek, you see a Dalek army at its full power, and you feel the shockwaves that they've left in the universe. Like, the Daleks at this point are a myth, and you see that with people in the game shows who are just like, Daleks aren't real, what are you on about? As dated as they are now, but then again, it depends. Like, if you were of a certain generation, such as myself, you would have grown up with stuff like Big Brother, Trini and Susanna. Whereas if you watch this later on, or you just forget about that crap, then it just seems like original game shows. So again, it depends how you look at it, but for me it is a bit dated now, because like The Weakest Link with Anne Robinson, or The Android, and then obviously Big Brother, but still, it works. Again, a unique idea that you put them in this setting that is almost benign, but it turns out to be a threat, again, is something that I love when Doctor Who does. I love the fact that for a fair chunk of the story, our heroes are totally separate from one another, and they have to find each other. Plus, with the scheme of the Daleks and they're coming, and you know that there's nothing to stop them, and Eccleston is clearly trying to put on a brave face, but you just know that he feels defeated. There's that fantastic scene, the bit where after he's spoken to the Emperor, he goes back into the TARDIS and you hear him scream, firing at the TARDIS, and his head is just slumped against the TARDIS door, because he's like, I lost everything for essentially nothing. Linda with a Y, the companion that should have been, I really liked her, and in fact her death is still to this day one of my favourite ways that a character has died, because I think it's such a tragic death. You were just getting to know this character, you were just getting to like her, and then yep, she's gone. I think this again is in a similar vein to Caves of Androzani, in it shows you where the Doctor's at in terms of just before he dies. Like, he's willing to sacrifice everything, but in the end he's like, actually no, I'm a coward any day. I must say, the ending of Rose absorbing the heart of the TARDIS and then flying to the Doctor's rescue and everything like that, I do think is a little bit convenient. I don't think it's as bad as, say, the Series 3 finale, where it's like, oh, everyone just said Doctor and then that means he's fine again. It's part of the same family, shall we say, but I don't think it's handled as bad. Like, this is a lot more believable. Plus, it's a great payoff as well for the whole Bad Wolf thing throughout the course of Series 1. I really like his regeneration as well. This is sort of the least self-indulgent regeneration for the modern era that we've had thus far. Because yes, he does have a little speech and a little moment and everything, but it doesn't feel as like self-filleting as David Tennant's, shall we say. And I've got to admit, it feels sad, because even to this day, because you do feel like the Ninth Doctor had more to offer. Obviously he's coming back for Big Finish, which is fantastic, but at the same time, whilst I say that, it also feels like his story is done. Like, the way that the entire series and the arc was written, it feels like, yeah, okay, like, I'm not happy about it, I do want to see more of him, but there's a nice sort of ending to his character, and you feel like, yeah, they've gone as far as they can. And again, pretty much flawless story. Like, in terms of the 3 for this list, there was no other 3 that I could pick. Considering that Series 1, for me at least, is probably the most consistent series of the modern era, in terms of the worst episode is still like a 6 out of 10. This was very, very easy, and I think most people clicking on this video were thinking, I bet it's going to be Dalek, Empty Child and Parting of the Ways, and it is. But in the comments below though, guys, let me know what you think. Do you agree with my choices? Do you not? Whatever it is, let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like on it, subscribe for more, because I want to get 10k at some point. Why not? It's free. And if you do any of those things, I would absolutely love you forever. But until next time, guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.